All right, a very good morning to you. You're welcome along this Monday morning. It is a Monday morning of destiny, or else it's a Monday morning of disaster or despair. We'll know in 24 hours, because tonight Ireland take on Denmark in the Aviva with a chance of getting some home matches in the European Championships. It's all come down to this. We could have beaten Georgia and it would not have come down to this, and we'd be happily already qualified on. But, you know, let's not linger on the negatives. Let's thrust forward endlessly, ceaselessly into the future.
Let's pretend what might become a very, very happy story tonight. We don't care how we do it. That ship has long since sailed. We don't care what it's going to look like tonight. We don't care really how we feel looking at this thing stylistically tonight, as long as we get the win.
Oh, scratchy, 1-0. Happy days. Scratchy, 3-2, 4-3, 6-5. I don't care. More likely to be 5-0, 5-1.
Reading all the media this morning, and so over the course of the weekend, you start to realise that we're coming up against possibly the best team since the mid-90s that Denmark have produced, and a bunch of generational talents, a team that are about to lose their manager after the current campaign potentially, and we'll have a Danish journalist in later on, and it all just paints a picture about what an underdog task this is when you look at things on paper. And then you kind of listen to some of the analysis on our side of things, and there's confidence from Richard Dunn in the newspaper this morning, for example, and there's confidence from other pundits that perhaps actually the sum of the parts in this Danish team just isn't adding up to what it should be.
You're very well placed to talk about the collective mindset that grips in the build-up to a match, right?
How do you mean?
Well, you lost the run of yourself in the build-up to the New Zealand game when you were like, oh, you know, I give us a bit of a chance here. So maybe we're all going to stay another week. It was like, you know, the condemned man thinking that the phone is going to ring as you shuffle towards whatever gas chamber or lethal injection or electric chair. You're like, what's that? Is the phone ringing? That's what we were like, in fairness. I'm projecting here, Eoin, but it was all of us, right?
And the phone never did ring.
The phone never did ring. It's still ringing, you know. Anyway, and today, in fairness, Liam Brady in his piece is like, well, we're going to the playoffs, aren't we? Really? This is a big, long piece, which ends up with like, we're going to the playoffs. Ultimately, that's what's going to happen. We're going to the playoffs.
Because we feel incapable of actually winning this game. That is the issue here. We need to get 3 points tonight. I think...
How can anybody see us win this game? Like, you know, you can make the case that our defence is amazing, that Randolph makes a couple of great saves, maybe they get a man sent off, maybe we win a slightly dodgy penalty in front of the home crowd, and we win 1-0. I can't make the case.
Shane Duffy needs to score a brace probably for us to win the game tonight. That's probably what needs to happen. It's a good chance we concede I think there's a good chance that Denmark will score tonight because of the quality that they have. And when Ireland go chasing a win, that sort of thing tends to happen. And we haven't chased something.
Oh, we won't be chasing that win. We'll be waiting until the 95th minute to launch the ball forward, and then Darren Randolph can go up and join in.
That's true, because we have had red flags in the past when we go chasing things, because of course the last time we did have to chase something was when Martin O'Neill was like, oh, the away goal rule exists, here's a load of changes at half-time, goal, embarrassments, World Cup dreams over. And since then, it's been very practical, very safe, getting results that we've expected to get at times. To be fair, we've got a couple of them in a way that we didn't expect to get them, with McGoldrick's late goal, for example, but we haven't had to go out and actually grab 3 points and go out and defy expectations in a way that we had to do since, and successfully, since perhaps Germany, since perhaps Italy in the Euros.
Yeah, look, I mean, if they can...
Wales as well, in fairness.
If they can channel the spirit of Italy, fair play to them, that would be great. It's just that seems so very far away at the moment in the form that we're currently exhibiting. The piece in the Examiner is good by Liam Brady. It's really worth a read. He does describe McGoldrick as having a bit of flair, which I would not have used. That wouldn't be a word that I would have put in the many descriptors I have, like game, honest, hard-working, important, like vital at this stage. Absolutely.
But he's not Caleb Folan.
No, but he doesn't have flair.
It depends what you mean by flair.
Well, look, it doesn't. We all know what flair means, you know.
But he's not Lionel Messi either. He's not Caleb Folan. He's not Lionel Messi.
Okay,
somewhere. I'm not sure. Is he closer to is he?
And I don't say this to do him down. I'm talking about how we're prone. Even somebody who's predicting that we're not going to make it through tonight is prone to an exaggeration of like our qualities in the last 48 hours before a game.
Yeah, okay.
And here we are, 10 out, and he obviously wrote the piece over the weekend, or, you know, dictated the piece over the weekend, and like, it's not like, and look, I think a team full of McGoldricks, we probably would have qualified by now.
Perhaps he's probably the most important cog going forward we have anyway.
Played every game, who knows?
Yeah, like outside of Shane Duffy, he's probably our most vital player at this point. You could argue that perhaps he's even more important than Shane Duffy in terms of what he actually brings. And I think he does bring elements to his game where you think to yourself, God, he doesn't necessarily look the type of player who can do those sort of things. And I wouldn't go as far as saying he's a flair player.
Yeah.
You're not going to put him in a total football team if
I think he'd be good. I think he'd be good in any team. But the qualities, like when it comes to his FIFA ratings, the Flair isn't one of the ones that you're like, oh, I'm just going to add this in here because he's got a 90 out of 100 on it.
Yeah, you wouldn't pick him in FIFA Street.
So look, this wasn't supposed to be a referendum on McGoldrick. It was just the point that like everybody's like, yeah, I'm feeling pretty confident we can do this, and that's the glory, I guess, of being a sports fan, is that 10 minutes in, if it's still 0-0, we'll all start to believe.
Are we expecting a similarly vociferous atmosphere tonight as the 5-1 pre-match? Or have we been haunted to the point where even the hype has to be kind of managed a little bit this time?
The hype is definitely much less than it was at that stage, right?
But I guess that was the second leg of a playoff for a World Cup. There was no backdoor here. There is a safety net for Ireland. And I don't want to diminish the fact that it's just the Euros. Even though we have a home ground fixture, it does feel that the World Cup nature was just this big thing that, you know, it was 16 years since we'd qualified.
Yeah, but imagine if there were games in Dublin that were like, oh, we should have been in this game.
Yeah, it's true. But I think that'll only
our stadium.
That'll only be hammered home really after the fact.
But like, why can't we just imagine ourselves now? Just like think about this for 15 seconds and go, right, we need to get there early, create the atmosphere, because what's on the line is the first and only time we're ever going to get games in our country in the Euros. I mean, is there ever any chance of us and Wales and Northern Ireland and Scotland hosting? There isn't. Like
that World Cup bid that perhaps is down the pipeline could happen.
Well, let's wait and see.
So that'll be the message if we fail tonight. Is that
don't worry,
we've got a playoff and also potentially World Cup.
We have a putative World Cup bid with England. Is it Ireland and England?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Is it England or is it the whole UK?
Right.
I presume it's the whole UK.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either. I can't quite remember. Anyway, I just feel that there will be kind of a far greater air of caution from the supporters going into the ground tonight than there was, what is it now, 2 years ago? 2 years ago almost to the day, I would say, since that infamous night now on Lansdowne Road. And like you mentioned it before yourself, and it was very similar, and you've made the comparison this morning, to the All Blacks this year. Those two pre-match atmospheres were truly special. The matches themselves were truly disastrous.
Oh, look, you're dead right. It was great. That build-up was class. That haka was class. We won that. Just like we won the anthems against Denmark, and that's what we all remember, right? Not Nicholas Bentner scoring against us.
Shane Duffy.
James McLean.
The rugby team didn't even give us an early try to celebrate, whereas went from fever pitch to something truly extraordinary when Shane Duffy scored. So I don't know. I don't want to put a dampener on things, but I just feel that perhaps there is that kind of air of paranoia that things could go a little bit wrong.
Yeah, and look, sorry, it's a possible 2030 it's a possible 2030 football World Cup bid, so just the World Cup, with England, Ireland, Wales and the Scottish FAs. So no Northern Irish? Are they not allowed? Windsor Park now? They're being partitioned?
I think he's going to double
They're
check
probably
this.
going to...
Stadium's too small?
Probably going to be added in, I'm sure. I mean, surely in the next 10 years they could borrow casement, what? That'll work, wouldn't it?
But they'll have to get the weed killer out first.
Well, it'll be United Ireland at that point anyway, right? We all know that.
And and then the second referendum, which will be, do we merge the FAI and the IFA, and then...
No, we don't.
The division between those two federations will stop the whole bit.
Okay, so I want to bring you this. Here's Matthias Löw, who made the documentary The Referee with Martin Hansen, who was the referee 10 years ago when Ireland didn't qualify for the World Cup because of Thierry Henry's handball. Probably because, who knows, maybe we would have lost on penalties anyway. Speaking about the impact that that game on the 18th of November 2009 had on the Swedish official. Have a look.
One part that I didn't use in the film was that he almost break down into tears because he's so fond of Ireland. He loves the Irish people and he loves Ireland. And he said, it could have been any team in the world, but why Ireland, you know, my favorite country. And I couldn't use that because it would have been too biased to use that in the film.
Yeah.
But it was a very, very sad part because I knew that he always spoke so fondly about all these times he had spent in Ireland when he had been traveling there with his family and as a tourist. So I just felt so much with him at that moment. But like I said, I couldn't use that in the film because it would have been a little strange in that context. I had to be very clear about how he felt and how FIFA had told him to be in the position he were, and he couldn't see the handball. And when you look at the replays, the only obvious referee or assistant referee that should have made that call would have been the linesman that were on the side that should have seen the handball, because it was his call. If Martin was told by FIFA to be in that position, I think he didn't do anything wrong. It was the assistant referee who missed the handball. Yeah. And I think that is also the reason why FIFA was actually picking him for the World Cup. They took responsibility. They took responsibility indirectly for telling him where to be in that situation.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't really blame the referee that much, and it's a point that actually he's done an interview with Daniel Taylor in The Athletic, which the Examiner have helpfully read. And if you don't have a subscription to The Athletic, you can read it today in the Examiner. You can read part of it today. And basically, one of the key points that the referee on the night makes is, why do I get the blame for this when the player who cheats doesn't really get hauled over the coals that much? He seems to get forgiven much easier than I do. So part of the drama of the Daniel Taylor piece is the journey to get there. It's like a very remote farmhouse, about an hour outside. Does he live in Malmo now? Is it possible he lives in Sweden instead of living in Denmark?
He has to do the Nathan Murphy route, flying to Copenhagen, go cross country to Malmo, cross border to Malmo, and then up north to wherever he lives, which is kind of in this kind of pine forested area.
So he lives in Sweden now, does he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, right. Sorry, that would make sense. And he arrives in this little farming village and winds down the window and asks in English to one of the locals, "Oh, do you know where he is?" And she's like, "I mean, I do, but like, I'm not sure I'm going to tell you." Because the whole town rallied round him because, you know, there were death threats. I don't remember there being death threats. Like, who was threatening the referee at that stage? What was the point? It's pretty dumb behaviour.
Yeah.
Sure, look, we all partied, I suppose. But I don't blame the referee. It's Thierry Henry. It's his fault, right? But I've also got over that too.
Well, I was also curious about the death threats as well. The piece is brilliant. It's worth taking out if you have a subscription. Taylor interviews his mother as well, and she talks about the death threats, and she says that when people write or say that if they meet him on the street, they will kill him, she says. To hear that as a mother, it is horrible. So perhaps the death threats are coming from somebody who's like, if I meet you on the street, I'll kill you. Like, I would have thought that it's from extremely, extremely unpleasant and angry Ireland fans, perhaps. But obviously there was some sort of potential that they actually might see Hansen on the street, so that might actually illuminate it. Like, he talks about the fact that somebody from the FAI came into him straight afterwards.
Yeah, who? I wonder who that was.
It's not mentioned in the article. I think he tried to remember and he just couldn't quite remember, and he was like, "We don't blame you, we blame Henri."
That was pretty quick. I don't know, probably is accurate. Although then again, you're the referee. Get it right. Come on, get it right.
He says that we're all like high-fiving and all that after the game, and like he was like, "This is the best game I've ever refereed." He refereed the Confederations Cup final earlier in the year.
Kilban had a thing that he went into him afterwards at half-time in extra time, and said it was clearly 100% a handball, and he's 100% it was not a handball. It definitely wasn't. The referee says to Kilban.
Well, you see, the confusion there was that he thought that people were complaining about William Gallas rather than Thierry Henry, and it was only when somebody from FIFA came into the referee's dressing room that he realised, it was the
other handball. Right, okay, grand, yeah. Should have checked that out.
Yeah.
Joe was blaming Kev for his positioning in the way of the referee and the linesman.
Totally agree. It's Kevin Kilban's fault that Ireland didn't go to that World Cup.
Pretty much, that was the implication. Kev and Shay Given were on with Nathan and Joe yesterday. There's a full hour of 2009 goodness for you to luxuriate in, if that's your thing. If you like a little bit of self-flagellation of a Monday morning, then get over to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/offtheball. You can also subscribe there, you and 82,000 other people. And also the best place to listen to that podcast if you wanted it on the Go Loud app. Right, here's exactly what's coming up over the rest of this morning's show. 7:45 at the moment, we'll get the sports pages. Stewie Byrne is going to join us at 8:05. We'll get the Danish view from the Danish journalist who was talking with Mick McCarthy yesterday, saying the Danes are, well, a little bit more technically gifted than we are. Mick was having none of it. We'll play that clip a little bit later if you missed it. Conor Fitzgerald came off the bench and kicked the winner for Connacht at home against Montpellier in perfect conditions yesterday afternoon against Montpellier in the Heineken Champions Cup. So we'll talk to him a little bit later on. Alan Quinn will give us his thoughts on the weekend. And then pits and peaks, which may or may not involve some world-class horseplay. Is that the phrase du jour that we're looking for?
I'm not sure if we're actually going to include horseplay in our... I don't think we have enough time to cover the intricacies of horseplay on this morning's OTB AM.
I mean, if you could just tell me exactly what horseplay is out there. Give me a proper definition of what horseplay is, because I hadn't heard the phrase since the 80s in primary school when you would get given out to for horseplay. Like,
where did you go to primary school?
Well, I was born in 77, so I was in primary school from like 82.
Where?
In Athy.
Oh, it's weird Athy accent you were doing there. Is that how they pronounce horseplay in Athy?
Was it weird?
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was kind of more manic than it was. I would like to get a power ranking of what is more fun: horseplay, bants, or carnage.
Carnage, obviously, right? Carnage is the type of thing that grown-ups do. Horseplay, not the type of thing that grown-ups do.
The thing is, though,
bants 0.
Fun per person is probably more achievable with horseplay. With carnage, you probably need something stacked with lads.
Yeah. All right. Time of the papers.
OTB AM.
The Mirror. The back page of the Mirror this morning. Have a go, heroes. McCarthy demands final push on home turf. Mick McCarthy wants heroes to step out of the shadows. Maybe tactics and planning is better, more important than heroes. Maybe that's what we could do with this morning instead of looking for a hero randomly. Anyway, sorry, Mick McCarthy wants heroes to step out of the shadows and into the light in their monster shootout with Denmark. I don't know what the AV is. What is it here? Oh, Aviva, of course. Ava Go Heroes is that one. Tonight at the Aviva at 7:45. Pretty simple back page. It's very effective from the Mirror this morning.
Back page of the Sun leads with a Q&A from Mick McCarthy's interesting press conference yesterday. Mixed metaphor. Question: how can you end Ireland's dismal run against the Danes? Answer: there are loads of places being flooded in England that have never been flooded before. Climate change is the answer to Ireland's questions tonight. Also on the back page, Keane to have a go. This is speaking on ITV before England's 4-0 win in Kosovo yesterday. Roy Keane hitting out at Declan Rice. He says where he needs to improve, there are plenty of aspects he needs to improve. I've looked at him pretty closely. I've worked with him, obviously, when he was in the Irish squad. Where he needs to improve, where do you want me to start? His positional play, I don't think he has been consistent enough. He doesn't stay with runners. He's sloppy in possession. I can go on. A couple of months ago, everybody was loving him, but he's one of these players who has played his way out of the team because he's not been consistent at West Ham. I think it is a position in the England team where Gareth Southgate is obviously not sure he's going to do a job in there. So he talks about the praise he's got. Perhaps
going to his head.
A little bit.
Going to his head. I'd say Keane's enjoying sticking that knife in, and for once, everybody as a country are united behind Roy Keane sticking the knife in, right? Everybody's pretty happy with that. Yeah, go on, twist it. Twist that Declan Rice knife. 7:48 AM this morning. Shane warned is the headline in the back page, or sorry, the double page spread inside. And the reference is, in case you didn't get it, it almost ended up a cricket score the last time Duffy had the armband, but giant defender confident. Do you like that? Shane warned. Is that everybody's like, what's that about? Are there that many Ireland cricket fans in Ireland who are going to get the Shane Warne reference?
Ah, yeah.
Yeah?
Shane Warne, yeah, it's like...
It's famous.
I was going to say he's actually on the back of the Sun today because they have a hair transplant ad, but it's actually Darren Gough, not Shane Warne. Everybody knows Shane Warne.
Do they? Okay.
So, handy headline there. Back page of the Irish Daily Mail is Casper's jibe. Danes are going to win it, says keeper. The Schmeichel family in general.
It's just assholes.
Assholes.
They are just assholes.
Really, really annoying, insufferable people at this point.
Yeah.
Every time I see a Schmeichel on the back page, I will read the headline and I will read the story. But it just serves to boil some blood, and then I have to go for a brisk walk to kind of work it off. Back page is as well here. Clonmel wear their hearts in their sleeves. Big win for them yesterday for the commercials in the Munster Club Football Championship. And what World Cup? Clean sweep for Irish as European campaign kicks off. That seems to be a tone across a lot of the rugby stories this morning.
Lethal Keane makes history. And this is Harry Kane became the first player from any country to score in every game of a European Championship qualification campaign as England won convincingly in Kosovo yesterday. And then Saracens want report in open. So this is interesting. Saracens have called for the public release of the private legal judgment that found them guilty of a huge salary cap breach. The English and European champions, beaten 30-10 yesterday in their first Heineken Champions Cup game of the season away to Racing, have been hit with an unprecedented punishment of 35-point deduction and a fine of 5.4 million. They have until midnight tonight to lodge an appeal against the ruling, but are not expected to challenge it. Which is interesting. Like, so if you think that there's something to be gained from releasing the details, but you're not appealing it, well, I wonder what it's clearly just about the PR battle at that point, but why?
I was chatting to Alan outside, who's obviously going to be in with us chatting rugby later on, and he mentioned a tweet from Andy Good yesterday that will question where has the salary manoeuvred from to in this season, because obviously they've been given their...
Well, they're still doing it, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There is no evidence to suggest that they're not. In fact, I would say that salaries are growing in rugby. Saracens haven't gotten any weaker, and I would say that there's still huge questions to be asked. Back page of the Irish Independent is revenge mission. 2 years after the infamous 5-1 Denmark drubbing, Ireland need 3 points to qualify for next summer's Euro 2020. But with 1 point taken from the last 6 available, can Mick McCarthy find 90 minutes of magic and another famous night at the Aviva Stadium? So those are the numbers crunched on the back page. All on the line for McCarthy is their continued coverage inside. Connacht Mark returned to Europe's top tier with famous victory, incredible 3-point win against Montpellier for them yesterday. And St Mullins enjoy famous day to book final berth.
Kettle turns it on at Cheltenham. The Bromheads put the kettle on strikes in Racing Post Arkle trial. Battle over Doyen makes it 2 from 2 over fences. So the look ahead to Cheltenham has begun from the Racing Post, and there's also a stable tour of Willie Mullins, an 8-page supplement where they've been down to Close Sutton and they've had a look at what's going on there. History repeating, Danes to break Irish hearts. So this is what we want. Somebody from outside who's looking at the money and trying to find out exactly how things should go tonight. Ireland's push for automatic qualification for Euro 2020 has gone right down to the wire, but they're likely to come up short in their crunch match with Denmark tonight. What's it going to be? Is it going to be a 1-1 draw or a 3-1 defeat?
You think they're the only two options? I would say 1-0 draw is more probable, isn't it?
Yeah, although because we're going for it at the end, does it matter? Does it, we're not going to send on a defender with 20 minutes left to go, are we? I mean, we might. That would be a very Mick McCarthy substitution tonight. 0-0, Mick adds on an extra defender just to make sure that, so we could still nick it. Who knows?
Like Tony Adams scored when he went up front for Arsenal that time. Or almost scored.
Did he?
That's the sort of mentality that needs to be instilled into the team tonight. Bring on a defender, it's not necessarily curtains. Irish Times, Emmett Malone writing that McCarthy prefers to dwell on the positives. Special performance will be required if resolute Danes are to be overcome. And then a couple of rugby angles here. Gavin Comiskey saying the provinces show there's life in Irish rugby yet. And Keith Duggan was at the sports ground yesterday. True grit reaps its reward as Connacht thrive in adversity.
So the Herald this morning, you haven't already done the Herald, have you?
No.
They've got a Richard Dunn column. He thinks we can beat the Danes. Everything teed up for an Irish win. So Richard Dunn is at least channeling the positivity. And I believe in these players. Mick targets final 20 minutes. Mick McCarthy says he has belief in this team's ability to upset the odds and qualify tonight for the Euro 2020 finals. The Irish boss is willing to go gung-ho in the last 20 minutes if a goal is needed to send the team to the finals without the need for a playoff. It's great that, that's certainly tactical masterstroke. Batten down the hatches. Defend. Hope the crowd get on your side for the last 20 minutes. And then mount a cavalry charge with 3 centre-backs playing up front. They won't have any tape on that.
Well, you can't mount a cavalry charge for 90 minutes, to be fair. So
It's true, you can't.
I wonder have they been practicing situational football over the last few months of his reign, where it's like 20 minutes, go hard or go home. The other 70, though, don't do anything.
No, maybe they have. That would explain a lot of stuff. Christian Eriksen has been quoted in the... do you want to do that one first, actually? Sorry.
It's the Irish Examiner. It's a great picture of Glenn Whelan there. All hands on deck. Liam Brady's column there. This is about much more than Euro 2020 qualification. Don Lenihan, green sweep. Provinces often running with 4 wins and opening Heineken Cup weekend. Then a couple of other things at the bottom here. Just 2 of the GA stories. Nemo routing Stacks. Bit unfortunate for Austin Stacks yesterday having to be thrown into the Munster Championship after winning their club championship months and months and months ago, getting pulverised by Nemo Rangers. No surprise that they won the game. Probably a bit of surprise is the kind of magnitude of the win. And St Mullins Marvels, Carlow Kingpins, through the first Leinster Club final. It was on TV yesterday, so a lot of people have seen that. A fantastic win.
You were away for East Kerry and...
Yeah. I used to think that whenever I wasn't around that... whenever I wasn't around, good things used to happen to Kerry, and then they ended up losing the replay to Dublin. When I say Kerry, I mean like teams that I would be associated with. And I've always, I don't really remember the last time East Kerry won a championship, which would be
East Kerry, is it? All right, I didn't realise that.
It would be my divisional club. But it's like it is something that you kind of get on the bandwagon for a few weeks in the business end of the county championship, because it's not a club, obviously. But it's kind of gutted to miss it, and it's sounded like an unbelievable win. Missed an unbelievable performance from David Clifford by all accounts. Obviously wasn't on television, which is a story you've covered here. So I haven't actually seen any of it. I saw I saw a goal on Twitter, but that's about it.
Yeah. The reports, though, I presume, were reaching you of everybody in the Kerry Mafia excited again.
Well, it's actually a very kind of proud moment in the Kerry Mafia, because you have people within the Kerry Mafia congratulating you. Usually we have to share our success when Kerry wins.
Right.
On this occasion,
It was
all
just
about
you?
me. Yeah.
Oh, right, okay. You're the only member of
me and
East
my
Kerry.
dad.
We're like making... Now we get to piece it all together.
Basically said, hey, everybody, congratulate us.
Serial killer cutting stuff out of papers, who the members of the Kerry Mafia are. That's us.
Yeah, you started to narrow us down at this point. I've made an awful mistake.
The Examiner has a really interesting piece from a Danish journalist today, which talks about the evolution of Danish football over the last while. So they had Morten Olsen was their manager for basically 20 years, and he is part of the team in '86 and had been involved at Ajax and had decided that he was going to take charge and turn Denmark into this very technically proficient, brilliant footballing team who, even against the better sides, would look to dominate possession and look to keep the ball. The Danes thought this was boring and were like, we want something different. So Harita came in, according to this guy, according to this guy today, Harita came in and decided that they were going to be technically proficient, but they were going to start playing long ball. So that team that whooped us 5-1 is technically considered by the Danes to be a long ball team.
Morten Glindvad is the Danish freelance journalist who the Examiner have carried copy from this morning. Give Morten his credit here. It's actually a really good piece.
It's a great piece, but it's astonishing
telling
to realise that the Danes think that team is a long ball team, and that I wonder what the hell they think of us.
Well, I think we know what they think of us. They've kind of got into... Our relationship with Denmark has now progressed to the point where the Danish players are kind of explaining the joke, or they feel like they have to explain the joke, like Thomas Delaney coming out and explaining his tin and beans comments and things like that, where they seem to have been taken aback by the Irish reaction to their reaction to our style of play.
We have no sense of humour about the fact... It's okay for us to say that we're not getting the best out of our players, but you're not allowed to say it, because that's just rubbing our noses in this thing we already know.
I think the Thomas Delaney thing was kind of funny. The Schmeichels, though...
What did Delaney say?
It's like, trying to beat Ireland is like opening a tin of beans with your hands. It's a great compliment.
He tries teeth. Christian Eriksen, speaking in Dublin at the press conference, this is quoted in the Danish tabloid BT. It will be special to come back again. It went so amazing the last time I played there. I remember that night very clearly. I've also seen quite a few clips from it. I hope, of course, the same can happen, even if it is a different occasion. That battle in Dublin ranks high above the highlights of my career. There is not much greater than being able to shoot his country for the World Cup that way.
Christian Eriksen's definitely the type of guy who goes back and watches all his goals on YouTube.
Yeah.
He watches guys play as him on FIFA on YouTube and admires his own goals scored on FIFA. That's how I would not be surprised that was the case. Just on these longest unbeaten streaks, if you kind of discount, because they lost in penalties obviously in the last World Cup, and you kind of leave beside the futsal team that lost to Slovakia, they're on 33 consecutive games unbeaten, the third highest run of all time. Number one is Brazil, and Spain tied first with 35 unbeaten games. Denmark with 33 unbeaten games.
Their futsal team? Or the real team?
No, the real team. Right. Sorry, that's if you leave the futsal result to the side for a moment. It's on 33 unbeaten games, because obviously they're not counting the penalty shootout defeat to Croatia. 33 is a lot of games. That's a lot of games unbeaten to be getting rid of your manager after.
Sorry, that was the other part of that story is that they sacked him like 18 months ago, and he's had to work out his campaign. And it's it would have been like, say, if Mick McCarthy was actually Trapattoni or Martin O'Neill. Say he was actually Martin O'Neill, and they were like, look, Martin, this has gone to pot. we're going to keep you, but at the end of this campaign, you're going. Well, it's not even like keeping that Martin O'Neill. It was like a successful Martin O'Neill.
Yeah, and it also seems that Harrider just hates Denmark now at this point. There's a great line here. He says, after the win against Switzerland, TV cameras caught Harrider being offered a red and white Denmark scarf by the FA's head of communication for him to wear during the post-match celebrations. Harrider refused and was afterwards asked why in Canal 5's TV studio. I wasn't feeling cold, he said dismissively. That is the nub of the issue there.
It might be the person giving it to him as well. Maybe there's a high level of toxicity in his relationship with the Danish FA now.
Oh, I would suspect so. So the huge pressure on the Danish FA. If this works out for them, like they're ranked, 10th in the world? If this works out for them, then you're like, fair play. That is a hugely courageous decision to get rid of such a successful manager. But perhaps they see this as a group of players who were on a par with that team in the early to mid-90s that are potentially one of the most talented bunch of
So they should
players.
be reaching World Cup quarterfinals, and I mean, they were pretty close to it. Like, what's the...
Like, I really don't see... this campaign has kind of perhaps exposed a few more mediocrities in the team than perhaps we'd expected. I think the 5-1 was an overachievement in terms of what they've actually shown performance-wise. But
Yeah.
the results really do speak for themselves, to use that cliche. And like we wouldn't really care. We wouldn't have been fatigued by O'Neill had we gone 33 games unbeaten, I dare say.
No, but they're still through, right? Like, well, actually, I suppose if we beat them tonight, they're not, are they? Is that not the whole point? Well, they will be because of the because of the Nations League.
They should be good enough to navigate that.
And look, they don't. They're definitely going to... They have stuff to play for now because of the results last night. So, are people feeling confident? Graham Gallagher, how's everyone's nerves? I hope we don't score first, was one of the early comments into us on our YouTube channel this morning. So how are everybody's nerves? You can get in touch with us. Use the hashtag OTB AM. You can follow us at Off the Ball AM. There's a separate Twitter account for this show as well. Or, of course, you can do whatever you want in terms of comments for us